wanted to go ahead and give a little bit of time to just kind of talk about something that's just, I don't know, it feels a little bit important to talk about. And that is the PvP side of Ark today. Ark back in the day had some pretty phenomenal just layouts for PvP. You could build a pretty simple base, have some turrets on it, have some hatch frames, and that was it. You didn't need all this fancy stuff. You didn't need floating turrets. You don't need spam turrets everywhere. You just needed a base. It was literally that simple. Now here's some bases on screen. I'm going to go over just a lot of things, what the old meta was to what it is today. So, so over here on the right, as you can see, there is this base, back on ASE, this is how you used to be able to build a base. Just a simple base, some hatch frames, turrets around the base, but it's just pretty much only X seeds, because guess what? It's really all you really needed. And the best part about it, we had hatch frames. Hatch frames were the key to building for turrets, because hatch frames allow for the turret to have a huge range to fire without, sacrificing your base getting raided. And this has been like this for a good while now, until ASA came out. And it really did change up a lot of things, because now everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be laid out perfectly with turrets on the ground, turrets spammed around, no turret towers, no turret walls. Everything is just spam turrets now. There's turrets on walls, ceilings, the ground, and that's the new meta. Unfortunately, I don't like that. I'm not a big fan. I get it. You got to go with the change. You have to just, work with it. Otherwise, you're going to get raided. Simple as that. Here's another photo, for example. This is another thing. This was your average 6x6 base back in the day, spammed with X seeds. Back in the day, whenever X seeds still moved, the good old days. Yeah, X seeds. If you guys don't know and you're new to Ark, X seeds actually used to have a animation, and they would kind of wave back and forth. But due to FPS issues, Ark disabled that, sadly. But they're still in the game files, just saying. They're still technically there. I mean, my biggest thing is I just wanted to talk about, turrets and how they've really changed over the years. Back in the day, you could build these just absolutely massive walls. Shout out to NerdPrid, by the way. I know a lot of you guys probably forgot about him. He used to be really big. This was your average turret wall back in the day. And don't even get me started on what happened before the 100 turret limit. Yeah, back in the day, there was no turret limit. There was no 100 turret limit, meaning people can build massive turret walls. And it was actually kind of insane. And that is one of the biggest reasons why, a lot of people could not raid bases. And yes, I do agree with the 100 turret limit. I just don't agree that you can't really build the same anymore, sadly. I mean, it's kind of up there, but I'm not entirely sure, because I like both methods still. The new method, yes, it's cool. It's just very complex for new players. If you're experienced in Ark, you should know kind of how to do it. Turrets can become a big issue, especially when Ark is constantly adding a bunch of just new mechanics. It honestly gets pretty stressful, but if it also stresses you out, then check out Mitra 9. Mitra 9 is a non-alcoholic supplement that quite literally makes you feel good. These drinks give you a high, but without the impairment. They have a ton of great flavors, my favorite being root beer. If you're looking for a new drink to replace your coffee in the morning, Mitra is the way to go. Simply go to mitra9.com and use my code OUTCAST for 25% off your entire order. Now, back to the video. Now here's a good example. Here's catwalks. Catwalks played a pretty big role because guess what? Hatch frames actually weren't out then, and all that we had to work with was catwalks. Hatch frames actually came out a couple years after Ark was out, believe it or not. And yeah, catwalks were the main thing for placing turrets. It was actually insane. But yeah, here's a pretty good image of catwalks. There's a bunch of images down here as well. Like here's a little 1x1 tower with some catwalks on it with a vault in it. Oh, I completely forgot too. Vaults used to be so much bigger. Yeah, that is a 1x1 by the way, and that's the size of a vault on what, I believe 3 walls high. Vaults were massive. Yeah, look at the size of the vaults. This is a vault today, and that's how big the vaults used to be, guys. This is how big that a vault was back in the day. I remember that. Oh man, that brought back some memories. Vaults used to be insanely too big. Yeah, look at the size of a mammoth next to this vault. That's insane. Oh, that's just wild. I mean, the good old days of Ark, the good old days. This is really making me, kind of see that I am old. I'm getting old. Because, yeah, this used to be the old method. And oh wait, yeah, actually here's a good video. So this is the Nerd Parade video. I'll play a portion of it, you know, for copyright. I don't want to get claimed, but this is to show you Xseeds did used to move. As you can see, there's them moving. Oh, that was the coolest thing. And yeah, I remember this. Well, he probably had about 1,000 turrets on here. Absolutely insane. And yeah, Ark was still buggy back then. It's still the same today. That part has not really changed. But yeah, it's just insane. And people actually used minigun turrets and catapults on top of their bases. Oh, yeah, people don't really do that nowadays. I mean, people still do that every once in a while, yeah, but it's not used that commonly now. Plus, these old base designs are insane. It's actually kind of wild. Yeah, here's a really good example too. This is on Shorts, but this is literally the same day that Ark announced that the 100 turret limit was going to be arriving. And this was this guy's base. This was North Ice, I believe, on the center. And just look at the amount of turrets that came. It was insane. Now, I do agree that they actually did, you know, fix this issue, because it was a major issue with Ark for the longest time, was the turret limit. And that was before heavy turrets were a thing. Because if you guys don't know, heavy turrets were never a thing. It was just auto turrets and Xseeds. Those were the only turrets in the game, other than the, you know, the minigun turret, the big one, catapults, you know, those kind of things. But there were no tech turrets, there were no heavy turrets, and then the 100 turret limit thing got passed, and we were introduced with heavy turrets. And heavy turrets shot 4 at a time compared to the 1. It was a big difference. People were very angry because they were saying, oh no, this is gonna break Ark, it's gonna break the just experience with PvP, all this kind of stuff. And well, heavy turrets still to this day are probably the best turret on Ark for early game. Late game is tech. So yeah, I know a lot of you guys were about to go rust down to the comments whenever I said that. Heavy turrets were a major thing for Ark, and to this day, I think are still a pretty major thing for Ark. All right, so here was a big video. I remember back in the day, this video got a lot of views, but this was Gang Gang. This was one of their big bases back on ASE, and this should show you how different everything is today with just the meta, how everything is built. It is very different. Now, this was after Extinction was out, as you can see, and this was, I believe, South Ice. It's either South or North Ice, I forget. But yeah, so the old meta, which this is still used today for the center, which is, you know, just putting a bunch of squids and stuff in here. But I mean, just look at the layout of these designs today. Like, if this was on ASA, oh my god, people would go crazy over this stuff. The railing, people don't, I mean, people use that for spam, but like, look at this layout. It's just insane. So many people would go crazy over that today. People are just absolutely hate building on structures, which I get it. It's just the new meta. And, you know, just building on a structure in general is just not as good as building on the ground. And whenever Ark introduced building on the sides of thing, you know, with like ASA, how they put it so you can put turrets on walls and ceilings now, it is the new meta. Simple as that. I wish Ark didn't, you know, actually never have that, because I won't lie, that did kind of break this entire system and why we're not able to build like this today. But it has its flaws. Wow, this is crazy. This is the old version of a cage tower in a way. Cage towers have changed quite a bit, but there is a ArcNet, you know, with the hatch frames above. You got your turrets on the side, a little turret in the middle. Man, things have changed so much. It's actually insane to watch this. Got the spam out front. You even got the velos. You got the behemoth gates around. Oh wow. Yeah, things have changed tremendously. It's actually pretty insane. Yeah, and then there's the top of it with the ArcNet down there. Wow. Major difference. Major. Actually, this is a teleporter, so this isn't really like, you know, defending anything. Oh, I remember this animation. That was really cool. But yeah, shout out to this video. This was a big video back in the day. Everyone was hyped whenever this, you know, video came out. Yeah, this is a really good example right here. How they only blocked off one side of this, and then they had this over here, which was to stop titans and stuff from, you know, coming in. But just look at the bases, look at the turret towers, look at the layouts of everything. It was so much cooler than what we have today. Everything was just giant. It was insane. You had Titan support to stop Titans, which people probably still do use. It's going to be different though, because hatch frames aren't around. But man, things have changed so much. It's just insane. Yeah, here's Church Cave. And Church Cave did change because you can't build out front anymore. I think they patched it with this video. I don't know, actually. It's hard to tell. And then you got the interior bases, which hasn't changed too much. It's about the same because, you know, that part doesn't really matter, to be fair. I will admit that building got a better for, you know, just like OCD and stuff, and for building crafting stations. For Ascended, it got so much better. It's just way more user-friendly. Here's a war room. War rooms look very different today because you can no longer stack vaults anymore, which sucks. I hate that they got rid of that. That's probably one of the biggest things that I just hated so much. Here's a great example of what has really changed over the years. So this on ASC is a turret tower which has been vault dropped. You can no longer vault drop stuff anymore, which I do agree with because vault dropping was a bit of a problem. Basically, if you took down this first layer down here, this layer would drop, this layer would drop, it would all drop down one layer. You know, it would keep dropping until it was all the way down. It was a bit of a problem, so I'm not entirely against that. But if you built this today, it would be a bit of a problem. But pretty insane how things have changed. I do miss the good old days of, you know, ASC. I mean, it's still here. This is cool. I remember whenever they showed this, that was pretty awesome. But yeah, I remember the good old days of ASC. I mean, you can still play it today, but even today, it's not the same as it was, you know, 6 years ago. Like, look at this. Look at this monstrosity. You can't tell me that's not cool looking. That is just insane looking. And guess what? People could build out in the open back then, because if you were a big tribe like this, you could survive. Today, if a big tribe did something like this, it really wouldn't last long unless you have full dominance on a server. If you are dominating above everybody else, yes, you can do this. But I don't know, it's not the same. The meta has changed so much, and now everyone has to live in a rat hole or a cave. And I feel like Ark needs to go back to their, you know, old roots like this, because Ark was insanely popular, and now today Ascended is not doing too well. I mean, it's still doing pretty decent, but it's just not doing the best, man. It's not doing that great. But yeah, I mean, here's another great example with this short right here before the 100 turret limit, just to show you, you know, how insane things were. I think this was modded though. I think this was after the 100 turret limit. I'm not entirely sure, but this is insane. Imagine having to soak every one of these bullets. Oh man, like, I mean, you wouldn't be able to, like, you just physically couldn't soak it. The good old days of just crazy FPS lag to the point where you couldn't even raid a base because your game would just crash. I miss those days. But yeah, figured I would just kind of, you know, just go over some of, you know, how the meta was back in the day to teach a lot of newer players what Ark used to be and what it is today. And even for the older players who have been here, you know, since day one for 10 plus years at this point, because it does make you a little sad when you look back and see how Ark truly was and how happy that we all actually were with Ark. Even though we were complaining about constant issues, we really had it good. We had it a lot better than we do today. The building did get better for just the mechanics, but PvP side of things just didn't really get that much better. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys did enjoy. You know, I figured I would just kind of go over this really quick to talk about it, because I don't know, it's just a really big important piece of history that a lot of people need to know and just need to just, you know, remember. But yeah, anyways, thanks for watching.